Okay, now on to our speaker. I've known our speaker today, Lawrence Samuels, for about 20 years. It was he, more than any other person, who helped turn me from an academic into an academic and an activist. In preparing these short remarks to introduce him, I went to the web and found an excellent write-up of Lawrence on Wikipedia. I recommend you look him up also because Lawrence's list of achievements is truly impressive. He's written a number of books, including one that's been out a while, Facets of Liberty, a Libertarian Primer, and the second edition's introduction is especially good. I wrote it. And then more recently he wrote a book titled In Defense of Chaos. Lawrence has been so fascinated by chaos, and he's explored that, and he decided to write up what he found. For 4 decades now, Lawrence has been a libertarian activist. I first got involved with him when we were on the same side of a debate on Measure Q, a measure that would have increased the Monterey County sales tax by 1 whole percentage point. We were outspent 100-1, and we won. Lawrence is also an activist on Carmel Valley issues. He opposed turning Carmel Valley into a city, but just in case a ballot measure made Carmel Valley into a city, he ran for mayor on the same ballot. Unusually for a politician, Lawrence told people not to vote for him. He got his wish and came in 11th. Lawrence is truly the Tom Joad of California libertarians. That's the character, the hero of Grapes of Wrath. Wherever there's a local government oppressing people, and I say this with all seriousness, Lawrence will be there fighting that oppression. Lawrence is also somewhat of a historian of political thought, and that's what his speech is about today. Lawrence has uncovered some interesting facts about Mussolini, the quintessential fascist. Was Mussolini a man of the right or of the left? I don't want to steal his thunder, so please join me in welcoming a man I love very much, Lawrence K. Samuels. Oh, I thought that.
Actually, David, that was city council member, not mayor.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay. Thank you for all coming. I enjoy usually doing things behind the scenes. I'm the one that organizes speeches. I don't generally give them. But in this case, what happened was I was working on another book. And the book's called Government, a State of Deception. And I did a chapter on the political spectrum, which I call The Art of Confusion. And actually, this chapter came from a book I wrote back in college under one of these old manual, non-electric typewriters. Clunk, clunk, clunk. And I had a chapter on the political spectrum, not very long, and I decided to include it. Why not? I wrote it a long time ago. Somebody should see it, you know. And from maybe something like 9 pages is now, I think, about 40 or 50 pages. I could practically make it into a book. But as I was researching, I decided to get into the various ideologies. And I just love history of World War II, World War I. And all of a sudden, I find myself trying to find National Socialism in Germany and Italian fascism. And I really wasn't sure where they were on the line, because if you read a lot of material, they always like to say they're on the right. And yet, I knew that didn't make sense, because I've heard things about Mussolini, that he was a Marxist, which he was early on. He was an atheist. He wanted to plow down the Vatican. He wanted to take all the land away from the church. He hated the Habsburgs. He hated the monarchy. I said, wait a minute. You know, according to the traditional political spectrum of Europe, the church and the monarchy are on the right. Now, we all know the French Assembly, 1700s. You had the monarchy, the church on one side, but on the other side was, one side was the right, one was the left. The left actually was comprised of artisans, merchants, capitalists, individualists, the classical liberals. There were no socialists at the time. And for some reason, they seem like the socialists have taken over the term left, probably by the time the French Revolution came along. So I was confused. And there was one little booklet out there that really did it for me. It's here. I actually bought a copy of it, 50 bucks, from a collection from Ireland. And this book, what it says in here, in a couple of areas, is not what they have on the internet. And I'm saying, you know, in most places. Now, a couple of places it says one thing, but most places it says something else. So, you know, I had to buy it. There aren't many of them around. This is The Political and Social Doctrine of Fascism by Mussolini. Partially ghostwritten. Back in the late 20s, it was written, published in about 1934 in Italian, and then translated in 32. It was published in Italy in Italian. And this lady, Jane Sosmas, who was a journalist in London, translated it. Now, it just isn't any ordinary translation. This is the authorized translation. So, Mussolini or the Fascist Party came to her and says, we want this translated into English. And of course, I assume they proved it, went through it. You know, it takes a long time. And so I got it. Okay, so here's the line that kind of started us off. And I wasn't sure what to expect when I bought it. I could be buying something that was not what I thought it was. This is Mussolini boasting. And Mussolini, it says, it may rather be expected that this will be a century of authority, comma, a century of the left, capitalized, a century of fascism. Now, if you're looking on Wikipedia on fascism, they have the word tending to the right. Many other places have right. Very few places have what it actually says here. Historical sabotage, basically. So this really got me going. So I started to dig even deeper